Hey there, Wolfpack fans. It's me again, Kenton Gibbs, bringing you another episode of Locked On Wolfpack. And I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/locked on college. Now, folks, I promised you all I would bring this episode as far as where the best fit for NC State would be as conference realignment is happening, as far as the SEC and the Big Ten. And, people have called me out in the past for taking quote unquote bailout answers. But I'm going to take a hard line stance today that some people may not like, some people may like, but I guarantee you nobody's going to be calling it a bailout. But to me, the answer is pretty simple as to which of these two conferences NC State should want to join. So stick with me. We'll talk about the landing spots, pluses, minuses, and more on today's episode of Locked On Wolfpack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, folks, before I get into which conference I think is the better fit and why I think is a better fit, I need people to understand a certain thing, okay? The idea that the ACC has treated us poorly enough to where it wouldn't matter where we go, where as long as we're in a new conference that wants to uphold its legitimacy and doesn't give slaps on the wrist for things like, oh, I don't know, a decade of fake classes. That's a very good point. That is a very solid, very valid point for a ton of reasons. So everybody who's saying that, good point, hadn't thought about it, but that's actually very true. And now, when we ask the question of which conference would be better, some people aren't going to like this answer. A lot of people aren't going to like this answer, but I don't care nothing about that. You're just going to have to live with this. The reality is the better choice for NC State to join, even though, that again, a lot of people won't like this, but the reality is the Big Ten is the better conference to join by a mile. And I know some of y'all are hearing this and thinking, oh, that's just his Midwestern bias coming out. Well, let me explain to you why. I'm going to explain this thing very, very academically here. Now, first of all, let me talk about the drawback, right? The big drawback would be the travel, obviously, because the SEC, even as they expand, even as they get huge team names, they're all kind of in the same area. Like that's the reality of what you're looking at there. You're talking about going from Alabama and Louisiana to Texas, which is a neighboring state, as opposed to the Big Ten, where you're looking at going from, if you're talking about the farthest west teams, you would be looking at like Iowa or Wisconsin before hopping, not Wisconsin, Iowa before hopping all the way out to the Pac-12 or the Pacific Coast in USC and UCLA. I understand that. I understand how that travel could be a thing and all that good stuff. And I talked about that travel concern before in other situations. But let's get down to the brass tacks of what this is all about. The money, more money, and a little bit of money under that money. That's the reality. Now, according to the article from Football Scoop, which was published on Zach Barnett of Football Scoop, which was published on May 20th of 2021, the Power Five collective incomes, as far as how much each team or each conference received and how much they paid out to each team is fairly clear, okay? So let's look at it. Let's talk about it, shall we? The Big Ten, $768.9 million, SEC, $728.9 million, Pac-12, $533.8, ACC, $496.7, Big 12, $409.2. Now, payout per team, however, 54 point, and this is to fully shared members because, again, remember when I told y'all about that Maryland thing before? Well, Maryland, even though they're nearly a decade into joining, still getting their checks a little lighter than everybody else's, as well as Rutgers. Anywho, the payments go as follows. Big Ten, $54.3 million, SEC, $45.5 million. What are we talking about there? What are we talking about? And I could read down the entire list, but these are the only two that we're talking about, and the two that we're talking about in terms of realignment. And this is why. Remember when I said about the coalition or whatever, or the agreement amongst the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC? That I said, hey, that thing ain't worth much. That thing ain't worth much because the reality is that when the money gets involved, people break things like that. And with that being said, it's clear if one team, or if one conference rather, is paying out $10 million more than another, it shouldn't be too much to think about, especially if, again, quoting the last episode, especially if the guy from the swimming swimming website was correct, and the ACC decides we want to terminate your TV deal. Well, okay, if I'm the Wolfpack and the grant of rights is now off, Big Ten, come on down. Again, the money is right here. And I know people are thinking, well, there's a lot of tradition, and NC State has ties to other universities that are in the Southeast region and all that good stuff. We'll address that a little later. But the reality is, again, if we're talking about what this thing is all about, which is the money, it's a clear answer. It's not a question. It is not a question as to which conference is the better conference in that regard. And now the other part of this thing, which conference would be the better conference in terms of the ability to make things happen, the ability to finally end those conference streaks, as far as the years, the decades really, of no conference championships in football, basketball, men's basketball, and baseball. Well, one conference is a buzzsaw, the other is not. That's just the reality. Like I'm trying to tell you all this as like with as much of a straight face as I can. Okay, when you go by past champions, it's not close. When you go by playoff appearances, it's not close. Excuse me. If I go by the past 10 championships, right? So that's all of the college football playoff and 2 additional years on top of that. We have 6 SEC champions, 1 Big Ten champion, Ohio State, in the inaugural playoff year. That's it. Well, maybe that sample size is too small. Maybe we need to expand that sample size out a little bit, because the expanded version is a little bit more friendly to the Big Ten, of course. Yeah, it is. Let's talk about it, shall we? In the last 20 championships, in the last 20 national championships, or actually the last 20 national champions that were named by the recognized sources, we've got 14 for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten. And of those 4, I believe, I want to say at least 3 of them were, no, 2 or 3, yes, 3 of them were in the first 3 years. So in 2002, it was Ohio State. And in 2003, it was LSU and USC. And in 2004, it was USC outright, I believe. I believe that was the answer there. But again, it's not close. It's not close in terms of which conference is more of a gauntlet. And I know some people would hear this and think, well, oh my God, are you talking about running from competition or whatever the case may be? Listen, I'm talking about not being dumb as a bag of bricks here. And yes, it was the first 3 years. It was Ohio State. 2003 was LSU and USC. And 2004 was USC outright. Yeah. So anyway, you're looking at that. And if you're being honest with yourself, saying that, oh yeah, I want to go to the conference that has 2 teams in the playoff virtually every year, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. All right. Again, I have never been the type to argue that, the SEC is head and shoulders better than everybody else and top to bottom and all that good stuff. But again, I talked about this before when talking about Dan Wolken saying, hey, Doran getting this new contract shows that 8 wins is enough to keep your job and get an extension at NC State. Yeah, that's the case in most places. And if you look at a lot of places in the Big Ten, that's the case. I've always said that there are maybe 5 to 10 programs in America, as far as college football goes, where that's not enough, where 8 wins a year is not enough. And a good chunk of those are located in the SEC, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. So, with that being said, again, it's not a question as to where to go if you're looking to break that streak sometime soon. That's just the reality of what we're looking at here. That's just the reality. And I'm only talking about the teams that are already there. We're not talking about teams that are potentially going. We're not talking about that in this moment. It's clear the Big Ten is the better option. It's clear. It shouldn't be a question. It shouldn't be something that's racking people's brains. And I'm going to come back and convince you a little harder as to why that's still the place. But for now, let me talk to you about LinkedIn. As the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you to find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a free job in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. So I was just talking about the teams that are already there in terms of, national championships and all that. But again, this is a reality that we're looking at where there's more than just the teams that are already there who give problems, who would be teams that give the teams potentially headed to each conference. Make it even more clear. Make it even more clear that this should provide all the clarity that you need, okay? And this is not a shot at USC or UCLA. And this isn't, saying that, oh, they're terrible teams or, all that good stuff. And their athletic programs aren't about nothing. I'm giving you the numbers as they are. I tell you what it is, what it ain't, what it could be, and what it can, okay? Now, we're talking about men's basketball, baseball, football, okay? Those are the 3 sports that we're talking about because those are for the most part, at most universities, those are most commonly the revenue generating sports. And baseball, even a little, depending on there's a good chunk of baseball teams that ain't making no money, but that's another story for another time. So, with that being said, if we're talking about accomplishments of the teams going in terms of Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, let's get into it, shall we? So, the last accolade had by USC and UCLA, a Final Four appearance in 2021 out of UCLA. You go back before that, UCLA baseball won the conference title. Again, UCLA baseball won the conference title in 2019. You go back before that, 2017, USC wins the conference title in football. You go back before that, you go to 2014, where you get UCLA winning their conference tournament in basketball. Now, that is 4 championships over the span of 7 years, from 2014 up through 2021, or really 4 over the span of 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Yeah, so over 7 years. Yeah, that's what you're looking at. 4 over 7. Oklahoma has 6 conference championships in from 2016 to 2021. 6. There shouldn't be any deep conversation about, well, where should NC State be looking to go? Again, there is one place. I like Lincoln Riley a lot. I think that I'll say this, I give him the edge over Brent Venables because he's a proven commodity as a head coach. We have not seen that out of Brent Venables at this level. Everybody who's listening to this show, or listened to Locked On ACC at a high clip knows exactly how I feel about Brent Venables. That is a bad man in terms of drawing up a defense. And so that's why, again, another reason that makes it clear the Big Ten is the place for the Wolfpack. And here's the last reason I'm going to give you, okay? Because I know a lot of folks are going to say, well, there's ties to other teams in this region and all this and all that. Listen, forget the past, man. Forget the past, okay? Again, we're talking about a drought that goes back to before I was born in terms of the last time NC State had won a conference championship in the three sports that we're talking about today. We're talking about before. I'm bald now. What more can I tell you in terms of this is the time? I don't care what everybody says. Oh, geographically, it makes a lot of sense. Geographically, it makes a lot. So you're going to take less money to quote unquote not run from the grind, not run from the best teams and all that good stuff. Sure, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And again, this is a situation where if we actually are talking about student athlete welfare and all that, sure, the SEC makes more sense from that standpoint, not having to travel ridiculous lengths and all that, and back and forth as if you're professionals from coast to coast, going all the way up to Rutgers and all the way over to California. Yeah, sure, I get that. With that being said, this is still a clear-cut case where there should be no question at all about, again, the ties to these teams mean so much. Again, even if the SEC were to get Florida State, Clemson, the boys in baby blue, and Virginia, I don't care. I do not care. There is nothing in me that is like, those rivalries need to continue forever. I hate the boys in baby blue. They are absolutely awful, absolutely terrible. But I also don't care about them enough to say that we should sacrifice $10 million a year as a university. And even if you said, well, the money is going to get closer and even out and round out, okay, well, still tank our chances at winning the conference in some of these sports. And some of you may be thinking, well, Ken, why wouldn't we just get better and we do a better job of recruiting to the Southeast than we are now? We're already recruiting the Southeast. You think we got a pipeline running out of you think we got a pipeline running out of California at the moment? You think we got a pipeline running out of the Midwest at the moment? You think, trust me, I am telling you this as a former player at NC State. People looked at me as if I had three heads when I said the word pop instead of soda. There is not a large amount of players from those other regions as it is. We're already recruiting that SEC, ACC country. We're already doing it. We already have plenty of guys from Florida. We already have plenty of guys who born and raised in Florida, culturally Florida guys straight up and down. We're already doing that. And how's that worked out for us so far? Y'all tell me, because I'm maybe a liar. I'm telling you, going to the Big Ten, again, start those new traditions, start the new rivalries. Leave what's behind you. Go into that next phase. I'll compare it to this, and I compare a lot of things today, but I'm gonna do this again. When you go into that new conference, it's like you got the new old lady. The ACC ain't treat you right. You know what I mean? They ain't want to do the things that you wanted done at a high level. They wanted to treat you like a stray dog. They wanted to treat you however and all that good stuff. That's fine. But now that you're going to the new partner, enjoy them. Create some new good memories with them. Create new fun things that y'all do with them. Create new rivalries. I could give a rat's behind about, the textile bowl. Oh my. Wow. We only play Duke like once every, 4 years or so, as it is in football? Oh, God, so tough. Urgh. Oh, no. Again, it's simple. It's simple. Start new traditions. Forget what was. Focus on what is. Focus on what will be. Focus on that. That's how you move forward. That's how you make greatness happen as a program. You don't think back on, there's just so much connection to these teams, and I don't want to be the only team to not be in the same conference as these things. Forget them. Go on. Pursue your greatness. Be great as you are. Not great as, we're a unit. Because, baby, NC State has never been seen as part of the in crowd in the ACC. So why do we then need to go follow others and say, well, we're going to be the out crowd in the group. They're going to be the out crowd. Stop it. Stop it. I'm going to quote one of the guys in Baby Blue and saying, stop it, get some help. You understand me? Stop it and get some help. Okay? And you know, when you talk about that guy, you got to talk about his betting problem. But hopefully you don't have one. And if you don't, go to betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. Find all the latest sports development, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball games. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live sports betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I know that there's going to be a section of people that's going to be mad at me. And I knew there was going to be people mad at me either way. And I know because of the part of the country we're in, there were going to be more people who wanted to go to the SEC. I get it. Trust me. I understand. I understand that folks who are NC State fans are more likely to have more in common culturally with the SEC country and the SEC crowd, as far as like the way we tailgate, as far as, cookout, as far as many, many things, cheer wine, many things that are, these are things that in this area, in this, the region that we're in, it crosses over directly with the SEC. But let me tell you something. In the words of Wu-Tang Clan, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. Do not pass up dollar bills because you want to be a part of a crowd that seems homogenous and like you. Do not pass up the opportunity to get yourself into a conference where you will be in a better position to win just by the fact of existing there. Again, I didn't even talk about in potential teams headed there, the idea that you have, again, if you add in Clemson to the mix of the SEC and you talk about past national championships, even if you feel like Clemson is an empire in decline, that even further dampens what you're looking at in terms of national championships in football for each conference. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that it's a bad idea to join the Big Ten. Again, the travel part of it, I get it. I understand it. I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, yeah, that long travel just makes sense for NC State. It doesn't. I don't even think it makes sense for the Big Ten in general to go from coast to coast. But, that's where it's the world we're looking at. And you know why those teams gave up the ability to just go up and down the coast and maybe as far inland as Colorado? Money. Again, don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. Don't play coy. Don't play shy. It's the reason NIL is a problem. It's the reason players getting paid under the table has been a problem. Let's stop it. We all know that money is the root of all evil, and it should be the root of this decision if I'm NC State. Thank y'all so very much for coming out. I appreciate you every single time. You all make this show what it is. By the way, the numbers have been off the charts. I appreciate it. Keep it up. Keep watching. Keep liking. Keep sharing, and keep subscribing. Peace and love, y'all. And as always, go Pack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.